invoke the Supreme Being. So, welcome all of you once again to the episode 27 on generosity. So, we have entered our second year of episodes, and we are very fortunate that we have with us our very senior Didi, Sudha Didi from Russia, all the way Moscow, I must say. She's joined us, and we are highly thankful to you, Sudha Didi, for joining. And right now, actually, she is in Madhuban, Shantivan at the moment. So, before I go on to the formal introduction, I would request Sister Claudia and Anu sister from Vancouver to formally to formally welcome Didi. Thank you.
Good morning from Vancouver. Good evening to you in India, and good afternoon to many people everywhere in the world. So it's a pleasure to have you with us to talk about this very important point, is generosity. And it's because you have a generous heart, you are with us today. So thank you for being with us. And because it's Christmas time, I would like to ask Sister Anu to offer you some flowers that we use at Christmas and shows at Christmas. So can Anu please give to her a flower so she can take to Russia when she can give to
Yes, please.
Yes, Didi, this is for Christmas time for the Moscow.
Beautiful.
Thank you for being with me. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, thank you so much for the formal welcoming. And there are quite a few new souls in the audience, so I would like to give Didi a formal introduction about you. So, first of all, I would like to say a big thanks to you, Didi, for your very generous nature and accepting our humble invite. And as all of you would be knowing, that I told you already that Didi is serving in Moscow, in the capital of Russia. And Didi is the general director of the Center of Spiritual Development there in Moscow, and this is one of the organization which deals with promoting unity of civilizations, cultures and religions. And let us come back to Didi. She is basically from Delhi and graduated from the University of Delhi, and also she graduated, I must say, in pedagogy and post-graduated in natural science. And in 1976 she dedicated her life, which is almost now 45 years from now. And Didi has been instrumental in opening various centers in different cities of Russia, and also in those Baltic countries, and also to name a few like Belarus, Ukraine, so on, and even Mongolia. And she is the chairman of the board of the trustees of all these centers over there. And I must say, what I feel so unique in Didi is the true humility which she has, and she obviously has got a very generous heart. And as usual, I always start with a poem. So I'll just recite a few words, Didi, for you. Being the general director, she is very well known far and wide, because she's kept always the Almighty by her side, which in turn has kept always Maya aside. She is indeed so humble, with no trace of pride, and with her insightful talks she takes us on this beautiful ride and helps all the souls to take their own stride, but still giving them directions as a helpful guide. So with this also I'll speak a few lines on generosity, which is today's value which we are covering. So today in this world there is the paucity of this virtue which is called generosity. Let's not have this behavior of audacity and try to develop within the self the tenacity, which will in turn help us to be stable in every adversity and teach us in this life as if we are in a university, that I have to develop my own inner capacity to be able to deal every situation with simplicity and mold myself to help develop plasticity and to accept each other without any animosity. So with this on generosity, I would now give a few housekeeping instructions before we move on to the talk. So for people who are new to Zoom, I'm sure everyone uses it now, but the interpretation icon, you can click it. I'll just share the screen because I have been asked to do that. Just bear with me a minute. And now today we have actually almost 10 languages. It's not moving further, yeah. So you can click on the interpretation icon here and you can select the language. And actually it's quite late for Didi, so what we'll be doing is the Didi's talk will happen for the first say 45 minutes to 50 minutes. We'll just be very brief and take a few questions and then take a powerful drishti before Didi leaves. So with these instructions and with this, I would now pass it on to Sudha Didi for the talk. Over to you, Didi. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Manoj Bhai. Thanks to Sister Claudia, Sister Anu, and all the members of, so to say, this spiritual club, the Values Club. And very special thanks to Manoj Bhai, who because of really this generosity started this series of values for life. So I was asked to say something about generosity. So how would I like to begin is that as in fact every value, we know that any value does not exist by itself. Every virtue, every value has many other values included within that. And the same is with generosity. So generosity in ordinary language, we call it having a big heart. So I feel when one has a big heart, generosity, there is never the feeling of lacking something. There is always the feeling of having enough, and rather more than enough. I give you an example. Even if, the place is less, but you can accommodate a more number of people in that little space because of your big heart. I have this experience since my childhood in our Lokik family, and then in BK family, in Madhuban. When there is that big heart, then there is no problem at all how many people have come. I remember the incident when Om Shanti Bhavan was built, but the place for accommodation, residential place, was only Panda Bhavan. And in Om Shanti Bhavan, 3,000 people can sit. But the accommodation, residential place was not more than 800. And just imagine if 3,000 people have gathered and the beds are only 800, where the 2,200 will be accommodated. And it's not the question of only sleeping, but where they will be fed, where the vegetables will be cut, where the grains will be cleaned, where everything will happen, how will they be all accommodated, and Pandavavan, as we see today, it was not like that. There was no Vishal Bhavan, there were not big dining halls, nothing. And there was even a time when 5,000 Brahmins gathered, and still the accommodation was in Pandavavan. There was no Gyan Sarovar, there was no Shantivan, and all had to be accommodated in Pandavavan, and just a couple of rooms in Om Shanti Bhavan. But I remember very well, I was also in Madhuban at that time, how everything was well organized as a result of the generous hearts of our dadis, our Madhuban Nivasis, sisters and brothers, and all the Brahmins who came, and how they had that power of accommodation. So that this value of generosity includes within it the ability to accommodate, the ability to adjust. And so when you have that ability, then you don't feel that you have little space, or you have to wait for a long time for your breakfast, for your lunch, for your dinner, and so on and so forth. It's a very beautiful long story, but I won't go into that. But what I want to say is that when there is generosity, the big heart, this ability to accommodate automatically comes in you. There is a lot of enthusiasm. Can you imagine how the water was arranged for them, where they will take shower, bath, or whatever, how the water tankers were coming the whole day. So the whole family was full of enthusiasm and happiness. And so therefore there was no feeling of lacking of space or any kind of trouble. In the same way, when there is this generosity, big heart, then what I have experienced is with even less amount of food, you are able to make everyone content. In Hindi, there is a word called barkat. Barkat means, you can translate it as abundance. It is said when you have a big heart, then in your hands there is barkat. So everything as if becomes more. Though physically seen, apparently it is not that much, but it becomes so that everybody becomes contented. Even in scriptures, there are examples, like I recall the example of Draupadi from Mahabharata, when 40 Brahmins came to her and they were all to be fed. And in the pot, there was just one grain of rice left. But Draupadi went to the kitchen and she began to take a spoon and take out from that pot the rice and put in the plate. And there was just one grain of rice. But when she was moving the spoon like this, the spoon was being filled with rice and she was serving. So she served all these 40 Brahmins and all of them went back content and having blessed Draupadi and all the Pandavas. And so what I want to say is, this is the example in the scriptures, but we know the stories from the Yajna when there was almost no money left. Then how Brahma Baba, fed the children and nobody ever felt that there is something missing. And I also remember the stories when the services began in Delhi and dadis came there and the mothers used to come at that time who did not work, who didn't have their own money because they were dependent on their husbands. And so somebody will bring 2 carrots, somebody will bring 2 potatoes, somebody will bring a bowl of sugar, somebody will bring a bowl of rice, like that. But when dadis used to cook the food out of all that what was brought by these mothers, it was just a one small pot. And then these dadis who were living 6 or 8 together, and they will offer from this pot little to these mothers. These mothers will say, but no, you are 6, 8 people. This is not even enough for you. Please take it. No, Dadis used to say. It is Baba's bhog. It has been offered to Baba. So everybody should share. And so Dadis used to feed these mothers from that pot, and then they used to feed themselves also. But nobody felt that something is missing, something is lacking. And so when there is a big heart, then, as I said, that there is the feeling of this big heart pulls abundance. Everything becomes full. Everything becomes full. And when you have a small heart, then the things become less, you know. And therefore, it is very, very important to have that generosity, the attitude of sharing. Now, another thing which I would like to say is generosity includes the virtue of kindness and the attitude of benevolence. It includes the readiness to sacrifice your own comforts, not only comforts, but even needs, for the sake of a bigger task. Means the person who has a big heart puts the self at the back, but the bigger task, he sees the whole, he puts that bigger task in front. Here I would like to tell you a very beautiful story which I read when I was quite young. You know, it's a story of a village, you know, where the a small place for village council was to be built. And so these heads of the village, they went from home to home in the village, and they wanted to collect the money for building this place for village council, this panchayat it is called. And so somebody gave 500, somebody gave 50, somebody gave 100. And there was a woman, very poor woman. She had 4 children, and she used to earn 50 paisa a day, half the rupee, and to feed her children. So when these heads of the village reached that woman's hut, she gave all the 50 paisas for this sake. And so in the evening, there was the gathering of all the villagers, and this village chief, he came in front and thanked everybody, and then asked the question, can you think of who contributed the maximum, most of all? So people knew that who is rich in village. So somebody named that rich person. That rich person must have given a lot. Somebody named another person, rich person, might be that person has given. But the fact was that this village chief said, yes, they have contributed, but the one who has contributed the most, and he named this woman. And he invited this woman on the stage, and he said, people who gave 500 or more or little less, they have a lot. They have a lot. And out of that lot, they gave this part. And this woman who earns only 50 paisa a day to feed her children, but when she heard that a place has to be constructed for the village council, she was ready to sacrifice the food even for her children. And she contributed whatever she had, 100%. And so her contribution was the maximum. And you can imagine there was a big applaud and so on and so forth. So when the question of generosity comes, then you do not see not only your comfort, but you are not even worried about your needs, because you see a bigger task in front of you. So this generosity includes this virtue of kindness and the attitude of benevolence for the bigger mass. So, in a sense, generosity is willingness to give, whether it is physical or something subtle. It is giving the best in us. It is doing something good for someone without expecting any return. Not even there is not even the expectation of receiving the words of gratitude. We just give, that's all. So, and in this giving, it can be something big, something small. It does not matter at all. For example, it can be generosity, can be in helping someone in some task, though it is not your responsibility. Or even when you are tired, you do not have enough strength to cooperate, but because you know the importance of the task, you are ready to give your finger of cooperation. That is called generosity. Generosity can be sharing food, water, these such simple things. Even at that time when you do not have extra or maybe not enough for you. This is called generosity. When you have a lot and you give out of that something, I don't think this will be called generosity. It's okay, fine. I have a lot, I can give a little. But generosity is when you don't have even enough for you, but you see a thirsty person, you have a little water, and you share half the water with that person. That is called generosity. Generosity can be freeing someone from the burden of worry, by empowering that soul, by empowering that person. It can be a word of appreciation, inspiration, encouragement. Sometimes, generosity can be also called that you just open the door for someone. This is also generosity. So somebody wants to sit in the car and you open the door and that person sits and you close. It is also generosity. Generosity is like when you meet somebody, your neighbor, who is not in a very good mood, but you greet that person with a smile to make that person smile. That will also be called generosity. Of course, forgiveness. Only a generous person can forgive. The person who has a small heart, it's very difficult for that person to forgive others. And so, as I was saying, that generosity includes within it a number of qualities, And so, and though a generous person does not require anything in return, is not willing to get anything in return, but as Baba has told us that every action definitely brings the result, and so is the generosity. The best reward a generous person, a person with a big heart, receives are the blessings. The blessings, because what are blessings? When you do something good for somebody without any expectation of return, you just do because you want to do it. Then the heart of these souls are full of good wishes for you. From their heart, the words come, God bless you. That you are a very good soul, you are a very good person. And this feeling in their heart becomes a blessing for a generous soul. And these blessings make the path of life very smooth, very smooth. Everything goes on very well. Everything goes on smoothly, very well. And so this attitude of generosity also spreads love naturally. Love around you, and it inspires others also to become kind and generous. Because you can't teach generosity in words. In fact, any virtue can't be taught in words. It has to be taught through actions. Baba also says that through mind give powers, through words give knowledge, and through actions give virtues. This is generosity. You know? So I will come to this aspect of our PK life when Baba talks about generosity. So this generosity creates a very positive, very healthy and friendly atmosphere. Because people, when people see you, they also want to do the same. This is called the donation of virtues. Okay, so now I want to come to the aspect of another aspect of this theme of generosity. I want to ask you, what do you think? Who is most generous? Who is most generous? Most generous. Just think of your answer, but keeping the time in my mind, I would like to say that most generous, of course, is Baba. Somebody has answered already. Most generous is Baba. This is why he is called bestower. He is bestower, he is the bestower of fortune, he is the bestower of blessings, the bestower of knowledge and wisdom and salvation and peace and whatnot. He's bestower in all the sense. He's just a small tiny point, but an unlimited ocean. His treasure stores are overflowing. So Baba continues to give and give and give and give. Does not want anything from any one of us. As father and mother, he does not want anything in return. As teacher, he keeps on teaching us and does not take any fee. As Sadguru, he gives us blessings and gives us liberation and salvation, but does not take any offerings, which is called in Hindi Guru Dakshina. He does not take any offerings from us because Baba is the most generous one in this whole galaxy of souls. But what Baba wants from us is only one thing. Baba has only one wish, and that wish is that we become merciful and bestowers like him. Every day, even today's Murli, Sister Claudia read the essence. If you read that essence again, it is about generosity. It is about generosity. So Baba wants us to become, the whole Murli is full of it. If you are not merciful, you can't be generous. So Baba wants us to be merciful and bestowers like him. But Baba does not only want us to become like that, but Baba also teaches us the method, how to do it. And for that, Baba says, children, have mercy on yourself. What does it mean? Have mercy on yourself. Number one, take care of your body. This body is your valuable chariot at this confluence age. You are the trustee for this body. Take care of this body so that this body can be used in the service of humanity. Not to take care of the body because I am attached to the body. No, take care of the body so that this body can be used in the service of God, in the service of humanity. Then, second thing, take care of your mind, your feelings, so that you can create positive and powerful atmosphere. Atmosphere is created by our feelings, by our thoughts. So take care of your mind and feelings so that the positive atmosphere can be created. Thirdly, Baba says, take care of your words. In your dictionary, there should be more and more words of appreciation, encouragement, gratitude, appreciation, inspiration, and so on. Take care of your words. The more your vocabulary becomes richer in such words, you come closer to the golden age. Then both, Baba said in one of the Murlis, I remember in September, that fill the vessel of your intellect with jewels of knowledge. Fill the vessel of your intellect with jewels of knowledge and free it from sins. This is mercy. Because if there are sins in the intellect, this is becoming merciless for the self. This is becoming cruel for the self because intellect is the main. So I have to take care a lot of my intellect and fill it with the jewels of knowledge. And then you will share what you have. If there are sins in your intellect, you will share that. If it is filled with jewels, you will share that. To fill the intellect, the vessel of your intellect with the jewels of knowledge. Many times Baba says, become Roop and Basant. This is what is meant by becoming generous. So Baba is most generous and he wants that we should also become equally generous as he is. So in the list of generous beings, number one is Shiv Baba and number two is Brahma Baba. Brahma Baba sacrificed everything, body, mind, wealth, everything in one go, everything. And he surrendered everything for the service of humanity. And we all know that the most favorite motto of Brahma Baba was service, service, and more service. And this is very clear from Sakar Murlis too. Baba wanted the children that you should serve to such an extent that there should be no soul left without receiving the Father's message. Starting from VIPs to Aborigines, from great scholars to prostitutes, prisoners and ordinary people, everyone Baba used to say, serve every soul, find the ways to serve them. Go to every village, do this, do that, send telegrams. No, different ways Baba has been teaching. And we all know these stories of the Yagya. And because of his generous heart, with this feeling of serving everybody, Baba could easily forgive those who defamed him, who insulted him. And Baba taught a lesson to the children. Consider the one who defames you your friend. You know, such a generosity, I don't think that there is anybody in the world who can think like this. And we know the history that how people who defamed Brahma Baba, who came to kill him, who came to burn the buildings, who wrote all kind of rubbish in the newspapers and so on, how Baba's words came true that the one who defames you is your friend, and how the same people became the instruments to publish the whole preliminary course, the basic course in the newspapers. And so Baba used to say that you should never think bad of them. They are doing mistakes because they do not know the truth. They are under some influence. So the person who is generous, who has a big heart, does not come under the influence of the words of defamation or the words of praise. The words of praise do not take him high in the sky, and the words of defamation do not push him down. When somebody used to praise him, Baba always used to say, my children are better than me. They are more smart, they are more intelligent, they are more wiser, they can explain better than me. Baba used to put the children in front. And when somebody defamed, Baba used to say, consider him your friend. So, Shiv Baba, Brahma Baba, and then we come to our dadis and didis and senior brothers and dadas. You know, there are stories and stories after stories full of generous hearts, the souls who had the generous heart. We have so many stories in the Yagya. And so this is why, you know, in our study of Raj Yoga, among our 4 subjects, one of the subjects is service. Though it is the 4th subject, but it is not less important. It is equally important. And today's Murli, yesterday's Murlis, day before's Murli, the full of this aspect of service. Baba teaches how to prepare yourself for service, how to use different yuktis for service. And in fact, purpose of human life is to serve. This is the purpose of human life. Without serving others, you can't be truly happy. It is impossible. It is impossible. You know, when you serve, then you give happiness to others. And when you give happiness to others, happiness comes back to you. And so this is the purpose of human life, when you don't live only for yourself and for your own small family. And we know the Lockic life of Brahma Baba. He never asked from God for himself. Whenever he prayed, he asked for the whole world. So whatever good I have done, let the fruit of this goodness goes to every human being. This is called generosity. And the next which comes in, you know, when we talk of generosity, is nature. Nature, the mother nature. There is a beautiful song in Hindi, which is translated like this, that rivers never drink their water and the trees never eat their fruit, you know. And so actually, if we see the sun and the moon and the stars and air and water and earth and ether, everything, nothing exists for themselves. Everything is for the use of the conscient beings, human beings or animals or birds or whosoever. But they don't use themselves for themselves. Mother Nature, and this is why it's called Mother, constantly giving. And Baba also wants us, our nature, to become divine. We are becoming deities, and Devta, the deities, Devta means the one who gives. So our aim is also to become Devta, the deity, the one who gives, or an angel. Angels also continue to give. So this is something very interesting. And the last two things which I would like to say is, you know, every virtue has another balancing virtue, seemingly opposite, but without that seemingly opposite virtue, the one virtue can become maybe sometimes a defect. So here I would like to say only two things. One is generosity and economy. We need to be generous, but it does not mean wasting. We need to be economic, but it does not mean to be miser. So the one who uses everything in a very economical way, whether time, money, energy, whatever, only that person can be generous. If you waste, you can't be generous, you can't share with others. This is why Baba says, don't waste anything, water, food, time, money, energy, electricity, paper, nothing. You should not waste anything. The one who wastes can't become best. This is what Baba teaches us. So this balance is important. Another is generosity and wisdom. Because generosity means giving, the attitude of giving, but it should not be to such an extent that the person becomes dependent and keeps on spreading the hand and asking from you all the time. Baba says that you should, while sharing generously, but you should at the same time inspire the one with whom you are sharing to grow in different spheres, whether it is earning for the livelihood or some decision is to be made in the life. You know, it should not be that small problem and that person comes to you and wastes time and takes a lot of energy and so on, and is not able to make even small decisions. To such an extent, you should not make others dependent. Generosity does not mean that you are always giving and another one is always taking. Generosity means lift others also higher. This is what Baba teaches, that not only you progress, but you help others also to progress. That means generosity means that I use my time, my energy, money, whatever, in a very wise way and do not allow anyone to waste it or misuse it. And therefore, there is a need of keeping the balance of love and law. We should not create negative karma in the name of generosity. So these are the few points which I wanted to share for this theme of generosity. And otherwise, you are all, experienced souls. You know a lot. We are all studying from Baba. Baba keeps on teaching us, and we all understand these aspects which are to be brought practically in our life. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Didi, for your talk. And there are quite a few actually souls who are new to this knowledge. So I just wanted to, I know I can't teach anything y'all here, but Didi was referring when Baba, it was about the incorporeal. We call God as, with a lot of love, we call him Baba, the father. So that's what Didi was saying. And Brahma Baba is the founder father of the organization. So just wanted to let you all know that. And Didi, you beautifully were mentioning about Murlis. So I think if people are not knowing what Murlis are the spiritual elevated versions of God, spoken by God, which we do revise in the morning classes, which we have at Brahma Kumaris centers. So I'll just take a few questions. In Hindi, generosity is, as you said, udarta. So in one of the spiritual classes, I mean, what we heard at Brahma Kumaris is two other beautiful Hindi words. That is, udarta is generosity. It leads to Adhar Murat and Udhar Murat. So which means an image of support, which is Adhar, and second is Udhar, is image of being benevolent. So you actually touched upon that, but do you want to throw some more light on how we can be sources of support and sources of uplifting others by practicing generosity?
You know that when you have that generosity, you naturally have good wishes for everybody. And these good wishes and pure feelings give strength, and they become the support for the soul. And because of these good wishes, you do not keep their weaknesses and defects in your mind. Looking at their even little good quality, you appreciate that quality and allow that person to grow even more. And so that is generosity, that constantly having good wishes like Baba, Shiv Baba, God, who is benevolent and who constantly has only good wishes for everybody, only good wishes. And this is why when people think of God or pray God or praise God or remember God or connect to God, everybody feels empowered and moves little forward.
Right. Thank you, Didi. In the interest of time, I won't be taking a few questions have come. I'll just take one more question. A very humorous one, actually. The brother is asking that you mentioned that if I don't have enough and I'm very generous, I keep giving everything. You cautioned us that you don't have to make the other person dependent. That's perfect. But if I don't have and if I keep giving all the time, then I'll be empty soon. So how do I fill myself then?
Yes, this is why Baba says, have mercy on yourself. Having mercy on the self also means that you remain connected. You keep on empowering yourself. I like to give the example of doctors here. Any doctor, if the doctor does not take care of himself, then there will be a moment when he will be absolutely exhausted. So this is what happened during Corona, this COVID, etc., etc. Yes, they served a lot on one hand. It was their big heart, but at the same time, this balance could not be maintained, and ultimately, many of them succumbed to death because of this. And this is why it is important to have that connection with the source, and keep on filling yourself. Keep on filling yourself. And when you are getting from there, from that source, then you will not become empty. You will go on giving, but at the same time, you are also full. And as far as physical resources are concerned, when you give, you naturally need to be, when you have a big heart, you don't worry that I will become empty. You give with a big heart, your intellect, your wisdom works at the right time. How and how much is to be given, so that tomorrow you do not have to spread the hand. You see, that balance is maintained. That balance is maintained. And so, but this happens, as my experience says, when you keep your intellect very clean and clear and connected with the highest being, the supreme being, and you get the right touching at the right time.
And so we'll just take this in the next 10 minutes, we'll be over. We'll just take this last question. As you were mentioning about various dadis and didis and dadas, which is all the seniors of the organization. So do you just want to quickly share one or two examples of how their generosity you have experienced? You said about many other things, but your personal experience with any of the seniors, their generosity?
Yes. As I said, that generosity can be expressed in many ways. I remember when once Dadi Prakashmani, I was, it was probably in 80s. And so there was some conference in Mount Abu in Madhuban. And so I was passing by the main courtyard of the Pandav Bhavan complex, and Dadi was sitting with somebody, with some guests. Dadi called me and asked me, do you know these people, these guests? I said, no, Dadi, I don't know. So she introduced me, and she told me about them to me and about me to them. And then she told them that they are three sisters, and they are all three sisters living in the centers, taking care of the centers. And Dadi is not worried about them at all. Dadi just said these words. I didn't understand anything what Dadi means by saying these words. And after that, I just stood for a couple of more minutes there, and then took leave from Dadi and went away. But after a few years passed, I could understand the meaning behind these words. That when you are able to maintain your spiritual stage such that you do not become the reason for worry for your seniors, and the seniors are able to trust in you fully. So these words of Dadi, they're very simple, but this becomes their generosity at that age, just it is in 80s, that means it was more than 35 years ago. And so at that time, Dadi said these words, and my two younger sisters, one of them is 7 years younger to me, and so Dadi said about all the three. And so this is actually their generosity when the seniors see something very, maybe little, but they highlight it to such an extent that you feel your responsibility and you begin to grow even more. So this is one example. There are many such examples. Once Dadi Janki was saying to me that you look like me, I remember these words of Dadi, and so whenever I used to meet her, and so I used to think that why Dadi said that I look like her, that maybe I need to become like her, and not that I look like her. And so probably, the seniors, like they learned from Brahma Baba. The Brahma Baba used to see one positive quality of someone, and Baba used to highlight it to such an extent that the person will become, full of that self-respect and that inner prestige, and will feel that he can reach somewhere. And the same happened with Dadis also. So they could see the positive quality of the souls, and this way they enabled them to grow more.
Wonderful experiences. Thank you so much, Didi, for giving your time and sharing these beautiful experiences. And it reminds, as you are reminded by this, you are reminded of the seniors. So we have with us our seniors with us first here today. Dr. Ashok Mehta, who is with us. I'm sure you know him very well. He's the national coordinator for Vihasa India here. And I would request him to propose the vote of thanks to you. Over to you, Dr. Mehta.
Om Shanti Sudha Ben. Thank you
Om
very much.
Shanti.
Thank you very much for your generosity of sharing the thoughts on generosity. Baba has always taught us that we are not levtas but devtas. We are the one who give whatever we have, whatever the qualities we have, the skills we have, the education we have. I think Baba has really brought the best in all of us through his vision of us being generous deity souls. So thank you very much once again, Sudhaben, for sharing these beautiful thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ashok Bhai. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Dr. Mehta. And I think Anu sister will do the announcements later. You can just play some music for Drishti, and we'll take some powerful Drishti from Didi. Okay, thank you.
The journey awakens within when songs of remembrance begin. The child of the Father is lost in the ocean of love, holding The strings of attachment draw masters right under their spell. Dance away to the beautiful music you wanted to play. Dance away in your heart. Dance away to the beautiful music you wanted to play. Dance away in your heart. In your
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Didi, so much once again.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
You can do the announcements, Anu sister. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So I'll just quickly take you all through the announcements. So our very next program is the special program that is the first anniversary of the workshops. When we started this series, we started the experiential workshop, we say, with deep spiritual reflection on the same value. And we started 1 year ago, and we are completing that wonderful journey. So for that, we'll have this special program with, as you can see, our spiritual leaders, Raj Yoga practitioners from all over the world. We'll have Brother Eric Levereste from Canada. He's the national coordinator for Canada. We have Sister Gayatri Narayan from New York. She's the representative to the UN for Brahma Kumaris. We have Sister Gopi Patel from UK. She's the Raj Yoga meditation teacher and educator. And Brother Yogesh Sharda from Turkey. She is the national coordinator for Brahma Kumaris. So this is happening just after 1 week, same time. So it's a very special program. I'm sure you all will mark your calendar and join us then. And the very next one, the workshop on generosity, would be on Sunday this time at 7:45 p.m. India time, that is 6:15 a.m. West Coast time. So we'll have experiential exercises on generosity and an insightful talk by Sister Luciana. She is the senior sister from Brazil. So please join us then. And we'll have this time the interpretation in French, Spanish, and Portuguese for the talk of Sister Luciana. And our next Values for Life series, episode 28, is on appreciation, that is prasansa or Sarahana in Hindi. And for that, we will have our senior sister Vedanti Didi, who is the director of Brahma Kumaris in Africa. So she will take us through this beautiful value of appreciation, the spiritual understanding. So it is happening 2 weeks after the same time, and the joining links are the same. So please join us then. You can find more information about all the programs on our websites, lhasa.in, vancouver.brahmakumaris.ca. You can also find all the videos on our YouTube channels. Thank you very much. Over to you, Brother.
Okay, so I think we are all done. Any closing comments, Sister Claudia or Dr. Mehta? We have audience still waiting for you.
I think we have to thanks to everyone who are here, and also special all the translators who makes so much are always ready to translate. So we have that's their generosity to be with us, and all of you also who are with us today. So thank you for everyone to be here with us.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Om Shanti.